So when I heard your name again, I wondered when was the last time anyone had said hers?
Promising Young Woman isn't just a female revenge movie. It's a mirror that forces us to confront dark, ugly realities about our society and ourselves.
The first thing I said when I was pitching Promising Young Woman to everyone is there's literally nothing in it, including the worst thing in it, that we haven't seen in a comedy and laughed at.
Emerald Fennell's feature directorial debut centers on Cassie, a vigilante of sorts seeking vengeance for her best friend Nina's sexual assault years before. Cassie's weapon of choice? People's idea of themselves as good, which she threatens by revealing how badly they treat women.
Hey, I said, what are you doing?
The film's ending proves Cassie right in the most depressing of ways and departs from pretty much every other female revenge tale you've ever seen by concluding with our heroine dead, turned to ash by the same man who hurt Nina.
This is not your fault, Al. You did nothing wrong. All right.
But then, in the film's final moments, Cassie's consolation is a different kind of revenge from beyond the grave.
You're under arrest for the murder of Cassandra Thomas.
The bittersweet victory of bringing these transgressions to light underlines who is the real antagonist of this movie: a deeply toxic system and misogynistic culture that protects dangerous men and devalues women.
One drunk photo at a party. Oh, you wouldn't believe how hostile that makes a jury.
Ultimately, the film suggests that the first step toward redemption and systemic change is to look honestly at the problem of rape culture and how our actions or inactions may contribute to it. In other words, exactly what we're doing in watching this movie.
I don't know how we all could have watched it and, thought it was funny.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about all of our new videos. This video is brought to you by Mubi, a masterfully curated streaming service that showcases exceptional films from around the world. Right now, Mubi is offering our viewers a 30-day trial. Click the link in the description below to discover a new handpicked film every day for free.
There is no person in this film, except for maybe one or two, who isn't doing really something that lots of people have done all the time, which has been culturally and socially acceptable for years.
The title Promising Young Woman evokes the idea of the promising young man who's been frequently defended and handled with care when accused of or charged with assault.
These two young men that had such promising futures, star football players, very good students, literally watched as they believed their life fell apart.
But the film reminds us that this male-centric discourse erases the promising young woman who's been assaulted and our concern for her well-being or promise.
She was just Nina. And then she wasn't. She was yours.
Many revenge stories revolve around highly sensationalized incidents of assault by hateable, one-dimensional villains who might feel like anomalies. But Promising Young Woman's bad guys are the norm, regular people we see every day and like, maybe even admire.
Pediatric surgeon, huh?
Yeah.
It's very commendable. Thank you for all that you do for the community.
And its ultimate villain is a shared mentality that excuses their behavior. The movie starts off by drawing our attention to the plague of nice guyism.
I'm a nice guy.
Are you?
Cassie haunts bars pretending to be extremely drunk, allows a nice guy to take her home, then when he starts taking advantage, she reveals she's not drunk.
I need to go. Hey, Neil.
Yeah.
They said I need to go home.
To play these secret creeps, Fennell strategically casts beloved actors known for playing funny, friendly roles. As she put it, people that we all want to like. The point here is to debunk the myth that sexual predators are shadowy figures removed from respectable society. The film suggests the nice guy is actually more treacherous and omnipresent than our cartoonish idea of what a rapist looks like.
I'm a gentleman.
Are you?
Yeah.
You might be surprised to hear that gentlemen are sometimes the worst.
Because he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, functioning within the bounds of propriety.
I'll go over.
Oh, Jerry!
My God, I didn't know you
To
had
see
it.
if she's okay.
Yeah, no, of course. Sure.
Perhaps even pretending to be a feminist.
It's just this soul-sucking system meant to oppress women.
The nice guy's attempt to exploit seemingly drunk Cassie was long considered an acceptable part of what Fennell terms seduction culture, presented by pop culture as a harmless joke.
It's totally gone. Have fun.
In examples like 1978's Animal House or the relatively recent Superbad in 2007, the protagonists consider taking advantage of drunk women, even if they don't go through with it.
Look at those gazongas. You never get a better chance.
That way you know she'll be drunk. You know when you hear girls saying like, I was so shit-faced last night. I shouldn't have f***ed that guy. We could be that mistake.
And in the end, they're rewarded by getting the girl.
This is Larry Kroger, the boy who molested me last month. We have to get married.
In Promising Young Woman, we eventually learn that Al Monroe, the man who assaulted Nina when they were in med school, is considered the ultimate nice guy.
He actually just came back and gave a talk here. Oh, he's a really nice guy, really smart.
When we finally meet Al, at first it might be hard to see this rather generic, khaki-clad guy as truly dangerous.
I love my fiance and we're getting married, so I don't want any.
But this is the point. The portrait prompts us to ask ourselves, if someone we liked were to behave this way, would we readily condemn them? After Cassie reconnects with her old classmate Ryan and is reminded that no one but her holds Al's assault of Nina against him.
You still hang out with those guys?
They're not that bad. They aren't, really.
She starts on a quest to make each participant in the event's aftermath reckon with how they failed Nina. Cassie's first target, her old friend Madison, reminds us that women can be just as complicit in rape culture. As Madison spouts victim-blaming and slut-shaming cliches,
don't get blackout drunk all the time and then expect people to be on your side when you have sex with someone you don't want to.
we see how internalized misogyny and the desire to remain in the in-group can motivate females to become some of a male aggressor's most vocal defenders.
If you have a reputation for sleeping around, then maybe people aren't going to believe you when you say something's happened. It's crying wolf.
Next, Cassie visits another woman who represents the university's response, Dean Elizabeth Walker.
Because what would you have me do? Ruin a young man's life every time we get an accusation like this?
Excuses like this assume that young men are frequently having their good names smeared by false accusations, when in fact a tiny minority of accusations turn out to be false, while the much bigger problem is that the vast majority of real assaults aren't reported or investigated. Dean Walker's priority to defend Al against the highly unlikely event of a false accusation instead of taking Nina's words seriously underlines that even though Nina was at the top of her class in med school, the school didn't value her as much as it implicitly valued Al.
So you're happy to take the boy's word for it?
I have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Again, in both these scenes, we see the intentionality of casting lovable actors Alison Brie and Connie Britton, known for their accessible past roles, so that we might recognize ourselves or people we like in these women.
None of us want to admit when we've made ourselves vulnerable, when we've made a bad choice.
Cassie's next visit to Al's defense lawyer, Jordan Green, sheds more light on how the system is formally set up to protect men like Al.
I got a bonus for every settlement out of court. I got another bonus for every charge dropped. We all did.
Ultimately, the movie implies that the true culprit is not a person so much as a larger system we're all part of that excuses this kind of misogyny on every level. It draws our attention to comments and behavior that many of us have likely experienced or considered normal, but which here appear damning, like the defense of the guy's youth.
I was a kid.
We were kids!
If I hear that one more time.
Pointing a finger at Nina's drunkenness.
Look, when you get that drunk, things happen.
If she was drinking and maybe couldn't remember everything.
So she shouldn't have been drunk.
And implicitly trusting the he in a he said, she said.
You said it was too much of a he said, she said situation.
But the script underlines just what poor excuses these are, as well as how sick it is that we've seen scenarios like these played for laughs in pop culture.
Maybe we should just take her to the desert barrier and wash our hands of this whole thing.
Dude, what is the matter with you?
As his best man, I would help him bury a hooker in the desert.
You killed the stripper at your bachelor party? Was this the 90s? How? Classic.
And we might start to understand the real reason our culture conditions us to protect guys like Al. It wasn't necessarily that people didn't believe Nina, but that they didn't want to. They liked this guy, wanted him in their lives, and preferred not to think someone like him could do this. So they found it easier to reject the facts.
I think the public has a great deal of trouble believing that someone they like could be a sex offender.
To drive home just how not nice this wonderful guy everyone's protecting is, the film concludes with him smothering our protagonist to death in a harrowing 2.5-minute sequence, which is how long Fennell's retired cop father-in-law told her it would take to suffocate someone. So many movies are willing to kill a woman off, but not to truly reckon with the gravity of this violence. Take a recent example, 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where there's an implication that Brad Pitt's character Cliff murdered his wife, who's characterized as a stereotypical nag, as if that excuses it.
They all said it. He's a loser, and I didn't believe them. So I guess I'm the idiot.
The crime itself is presented as a quirk of Cliff's character.
Killed his wife and got away with it. That guy? That guy.
And is never actually shown. In contrast, this scene makes us grapple with the reality of violence against women. The camera actually pushes in, making us look and hear her last breaths.
And it needed to feel real because it is real. You don't want to make it seem less horrible than it is.
After Cassie dies, we never see her face again, symbolizing how she's been turned into another dehumanized victim. And we feel the horror of this because she's us. We've spent the whole movie seeing through her eyes. Crucially, the length of the suffocation shot also makes it irrefutable that this isn't an accident or self-defense. Nice guy Al makes the conscious decision to kill Cassie. But the next morning, Al's friend Joe, the person who filmed Nina's assault and apparently drugged women himself,
Because if there is one thing I learned of Forrest, it's how easy it is to slip something into a drink. You'd think they'd remember that, especially Joe.
still rushes to insist that Al's done nothing wrong with an absurd eagerness.
This is not your fault.
I don't know, it kind of seems like it is.
No, it's not.
There's also a deeper meaning in the song Something Wonderful that plays over the scene of getting rid of Cassie's body.
This is a man who tries.
Taken from the musical The King and I, it's sung by the king's wife who's pardoning his bad behavior because sometimes he's a good person and that evidently makes up for it.
Then all at once he'll do something wonderful.
By playing this song over footage of Al and Joe burning a dead body, the movie is showing just how far we are willing to still stand by this promising young man when there's cold, hard evidence that he's nothing of the sort. Fennell says that she wanted to make a movie that subverted the revenge thriller. One thing that sets Promising Young Woman apart from other female revenge movies is its distinctly feminine sensibility, which was influenced by pop culture gems including Clueless, To Die For, The Virgin Suicides, and Sweet Valley High. Its palette is composed of bright candy colors. Its soundtrack is pure pop. And the film revels in Cassie's girly wardrobe, hairdos, and rainbow manicure. The story itself is part rom-com, complete with a romantic montage. All these markers tell us this is a movie made for women, not a traditionally masculine-feeling, action-heavy revenge film. Thus, in its form, the movie also rejects our culture's default focus on the male experience.
It's about, I guess, like, what it's like to be a guy right now, you know? Like, what it's like to be a guy in the world.
Instead, privileging the female point of view.
It's every guy's worst nightmare getting accused like that.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is?
The opening scene shows men at the bar gyrating to Boys by Charlie XCX, a song about thirsting after hot guys.
I was busy thinking about.
This style of music video-esque slow-motion close-ups has been used many times before to film beautiful women, but turning this technique on realistic middle-aged male bodies makes them feel absurd, and it sets up that the movie is going to look close up at the more grotesque aspects of male behavior through female eyes. Another subversion is the means of Cassie's revenge, which for most of the story is totally non-violent.
What I wanted to do is try and write a film about how an ordinary woman might take revenge in the real world, and that's very rarely reaching for a gun.
It's only near the end, when she poses as a stripper to get into Al's bachelor party, that Cassie does choose a level of violence.
You should be the one with her name all over you.
But as we've seen, the result is a far cry from the revenge movie formula that dictates a bloody victory over the bad guys. The original ending Fennell had in mind did consist of Cassie murdering the men at Al's bachelor party, but she never actually wrote it. Why?
Because the moment Cassie is in that room, I realized that there is no way of honestly showing that, because it's not true.
Up to this point in the movie, witty, self-assured Cassie feels incredibly powerful to us. But this scene reminds us that ultimately she's a woman alone with a man who's physically stronger than her. In this situation, she would be overpowered. The first draft of the script concluded with Al and Joe burning Cassie's body, but Fennell decided to leave us with a silver lining. We discover that Cassie made arrangements because she understood the potential danger she was walking into.
Somebody as meticulous as Cassie does not go to a cabin in the middle of nowhere with a ton of drunk men thinking that something bad might not happen.
Cassie's sassy, pre-scheduled texts to her ex-boyfriend Ryan and the evidence she sends resulting in the coordinated arrest of Al at his wedding may be less cathartic than violent revenge, but this conclusion is actually more meaningful. It reminds us that the goal isn't to reciprocate violence. True progress is achieved by exposing the problem and changing minds. The very first words of the movie are a dismissive uttered about an unnamed woman who really could be anyone. And so the story gives us a full circle ending as Cassie issues the biggest you of all to the bad men in her story. Still, the dark shadow over all of this is that 2 promising young women had to die for a man's crimes to at last be taken seriously. And that's why Promising Young Woman eschews another common revenge movie convention, using a woman's pain to motivate her growth, or even her transformation into some kind of badass warrior superhero.
By 20, she was one of the top female assassins in the world.
As Jessica Chastain tweeted in 2018, violence against women is not empowering. Yet so many films make it their phoenix moment for women.
Without Littlefinger and Ramsey and the rest, I would have stayed a little bird all my life.
In Promising Young Woman, trauma does not make women stronger. It breaks them down.
And it just squeezed her out.
It's heavily implied that Nina committed suicide.
Is your friend okay? No, she's not.
Meanwhile, Cassie is consumed by survivor's remorse and her once promising life has stalled.
You're still living here at home, working in that stupid coffee shop since you and Nina dropped out of med school?
I just thought that you were...
Drunk?
Yeah.
Really drunk?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. But that's good, isn't it?
Fennell has said, so much of this film for me was about what happens when good people find out that they're not good.
What are you trying to say, that I'm like a predator or something?
I don't know. Are you?
Early in the movie, we might jump to the conclusion that Cassie is killing the nice guys. She's introduced with hallmarks of the serial killer trope, as if she's preying on her victims. In actuality, she's just making them take a hard look at themselves.
What do you want from me? Say that I'm an asshole?
But it's kind of amazing how jarring this is to them. As Fennell puts it, would I rather somebody knocked on my door and punched me in the face, or would I rather they came to my door and said, I know you think you're a good person, but you're not?
Why do you guys have to ruin everything?
Most characters respond to Cassie's holding up her mirror to their behavior by rejecting this unflattering image of themselves, along with all accountability.
Tell me what you did.
I didn't do anything wrong, though.
The film gives us its most fleshed out look at what it means to not take accountability through someone who feels genuinely like a charming, funny, and nice guy to us, Cassie's love interest, Ryan.
Would you be interested in a friendship? And I'm secretly pining for you the whole time?
One of the big twists of the movie is that Ryan was an onlooker during Nina's assault and did nothing. He embodies the problem with thinking that passivity makes you innocent, when in fact, if you're not actively standing up against this kind of attack, you also bear responsibility.
I don't want to look at that, Cassie.
Why not? You were happy to watch back then.
A major takeaway of Promising Young Woman is that a person's chance at redemption depends on how they choose to act on the knowledge that comes from looking in Cassie's mirror. Ryan has continued to stay friends with these guys.
I can't shake them off.
And when he sees the video of Nina's assault, to a degree, he seems to have forgotten or repressed his memory of the experience.
I don't remember. I don't.
Didn't make an impact, huh?
In this movie's outlook, meriting forgiveness requires facing our mistakes.
And it's ultimately, for me, a film about forgiveness, but that people only get forgiveness if they admit wrongdoing.
And if we still had any doubts by the end, the film reinforces that Ryan is unequivocally not a nice guy.
And then we both won't be doctors, you failure.
Nice.
As we watch him again passively support Al's transgressions in the name of self-preservation. Staying out of a matter like the police asking you where your dead girlfriend is pretty much amounts to siding with her killer.
Do you have any idea where she might have been going to this weekend?
She mentioned the work trip.
Madison and Dean Walker represent another possible response to accountability. They recognize their misdeeds, but only once Cassie has tricked them into thinking their own lives have been touched by sexual misconduct.
You're right, okay? Is that what you want to hear? You're right.
I guess you just have to think about it in the right way. I guess it feels different when it's someone you love.
It's also doubtful this materializes into an overwhelming improvement in either's empathy or behavior. When Madison gives Cassie the video of Nina's assault, she seems to think this absolves her of further responsibility.
Do whatever you want with it, just leave me out of it.
The best model of reform the film gives us is Jordan Green.
And you most certainly won't remember the girl who you threatened and bullied till she dropped her case.
I remember her.
What sets Jordan apart is that he wants to face his past misdeeds.
No use hiding from the piper. He has to be paid.
Throughout the film, we see religious imagery, like Cassie in a position that evokes Jesus' crucifixion, visually framing her as a martyr for a greater cause. Production designer Michael Perry also used imagery of angel wings and halos to underline Cassie's role as an avenging angel. In the scene where Cassie confronts Jordan, the pair is deliberately meant to evoke Michelangelo's Pietà of the Virgin Mary holding Jesus after the crucifixion. Cassie's long blue dress in this scene further likens her to Mary, and at its core, this scene embodies another religious principle, the idea that to be forgiven, you must confess and repent.
I'll never forgive myself for any of this.
I forgive you.
At the end of the movie, Cassie has sent Jordan the phone with the video of Nina's assault, revealing that he's the one she most trusts to further her cause. So this highlights that it's within everyone's power to become part of the solution. Fennell named her righteous heroine after the character Cassandra in Greek mythology, a woman who was given the power of prophecy by Apollo, but was also punished by him so that her prophecies would never be believed. Fear of disbelief is a common reason that many survivors don't report assault.
I'm not the only one who didn't believe it.
As the Me Too and Time's Up movements have gained traction in recent years, it seems like there is increasing determination to listen to our real-world Cassandras. But we have to do more than that. When we don't value promising young women, we do a huge disservice to them and deprive the world of all that they have to offer.
You were way ahead of everybody. You would have been a great doctor.
As Chanel Miller reflected on the aftermath of her assault case against Brock Turner, it was so difficult to put into words what was threatening to be lost. I couldn't tell you, if you continue to damage me, I may not be able to create murals and books and all these wonderful creative things in different mediums. I knew I had so much to create. Only by trusting and honoring young women can we empower them to not just be promising, but to actually fulfill their promise.
I wanted to be a doctor my whole life. But lately I've been feeling like I might want to get back into it.
This is The Take on your favorite movies, shows, and culture. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. Please subscribe and never miss a take.
This video is brought to you by Mubi, a streaming service we love. Every day, Mubi premieres a new film. Whether it's a movie you've been dying to see or one you've never heard of before, there is always something new to discover. So in this world where it's very easy to spend hours debating what you should watch, Mubi is like having a really cool friend with amazing taste in movies, making it so much easier for you. They feature hard-to-come-by masterpieces, indie festival darlings, influential art house, and foreign films, lesser-known films by your favorite famous directors, and more. Plus, you can even download the films to watch offline, and there are no ads, ever. To celebrate International Women's Day, Mubi will pay tribute to the influential experimental filmmaker Barbara Hammer, featuring 2 films that engage with her lasting creative legacy, Lynn Sachs' A Month of Single Frames, and Deborah Stratman's Viva for Barbara. We can't recommend Mubi highly enough. You can try it out now for free for a whole month. Just click the link in the description below.